30 seconds and counting. 25 seconds and counting. We are still go. 20 seconds. Guidance alert. The guidance system now going internal. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon to viewers in the Western Hemisphere. We do have audio. Lovely, fantastic. Hey, it turns out we have audio this time. Sorry, we've been running into some difficulties with audio lately, but fortunately we have it straight out of the gate this time. Very happy to hear it. Welcome to the Angry Astronaut. As I said, good afternoon to viewers in the Western Hemisphere. Good evening to viewers in Europe and Africa. Good very early morning to viewers in the Pacific Rim. Thanks very much. Really appreciate you folks being here. So let's go ahead. First of all, let's go ahead and check in. I have a feeling we probably don't have a massive crowd compared to the crowd we usually have for the symposium. It's sort of a niche subject with my viewers, but nevertheless, we definitely have folks who are very interested in this, and we're going to bring all that to them. So we got 56 in the horizontal format, 14 in the vertical in the shorts. So welcome to everybody here. We got 4 Marks UK checking in. Hello, John. Hope you're doing well today. Let's see. Where's everybody else checking in from? Robert, thank you so much for your support right out of the gate, as always. Robert, Mr. Airborne. Always a longtime supporter of this channel. Really appreciate everything you do for us. What else do we have? Northern Ireland and hello, Yorkshire. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for participating in our live stream today. Who else do we got here? European food making him healthy. Well, actually, no, I've been away from European food for a few weeks. I am in Colorado Springs, Colorado currently, and will be here for a few more weeks, actually, off and on, because I will be traveling to a couple of places. I've collected almost enough. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's enough in order to go to Washington, D.C., to go to the National Archives. And that's all because of you folks. If somebody still wants to contribute on, PayPal, Patreon, I'm not going to turn you down because I could definitely use it. But at the same time, as far as I'm concerned, I've achieved enough of my goal to go. So we're going to be checking out some CIA archives as a result of that. Hello, Newcastle and Peter Quinn. Really appreciate you being here. And hello to our producer in West Yorkshire and Somerset, UK. John, thank you so much for the tenor. Really appreciate that. And a tenor, by the way, is worth a lot more money now than it was. The US dollar losing a lot of strength against the British pound over the course of the last week or so. So pounds are definitely worth a lot to me right now. Hello, North Greenwich. Thank you very much for checking in with us today. So what the purpose of this video is to kind of take your hello, Frederick, hope you're doing well. So is to take some of your questions and also to fill you in on some of the things that happened at Space Symposium. As I've mentioned a number of times, I do my best to attend Space Symposium every year. It's something that a lot of journalists don't get an opportunity to do. You have to provide justification. You have to show how much of a following you have. I mean, obviously, if you're one of the big wigs, and that's what most of the journalists who go to this thing are, they're from the big aviation trade magazines. They're from the NBCs, the CNNs of the world, that sort of thing. To my knowledge, once again, I was the only YouTuber who was granted a press pass at Space Symposium. It costs thousands of dollars to attend this thing, but as a journalist, I get to go for free. And so, as you can imagine, there are a lot of YouTubers who would also like to go for free, but not all of them get approved. And once again, for some reason, Space Symposium allowed me to be the only YouTuber, to my knowledge, who got to go. Certainly didn't. Hello, Dublin. Hello, thanks for being here today. So, some of the more exciting things for those of you who saw the tour that I did, the live tour of the symposium, were all of the lunar rovers. And in some ways, I think that emphasized the importance, that NASA continues to play in the private spaceflight arena, even if NASA's time of leading the way may not be there as much as it once did. Hello, Nottinghamshire. Thanks for checking in today. Even though that may not be there the way that it used to be, it's NASA is still absolutely vital to the success or failure of a lot of these companies, because we have three competing lunar rover designs, and nobody needs a rover on the moon except NASA. And so NASA is awarding millions and millions of dollars, not only for the initial development of the rover, but also a big cash grand prize to whoever secures the contract. And so you have Astrolab. In my opinion, they have the best design for a lunar rover. You also have Intuitive Machines, and of course, they've struggled lately with one partial success, partial failure of their first lunar lander, and then a complete failure with the second lunar lander. Their stock took a big hit when that happened, but they also have a really good design for a lunar rover, and if they win, then if they win that bidding war, or then they're going to be in a much better situation. If they lose, they'll fold, quite possibly. Also, Astrobotic, for those of you who remember that company, Astrobotic is sending the Griffin lander. And the Griffin was supposed to be carrying the water-seeking rover, and now after all this time, I'm forgetting it. I'm sure somebody will be able to remind me of what it was called. But this big, robust, ambitious water-seeking rover that it was. Thank you, the Viper. The Viper, thank you, producer. The Viper to the moon. And now that program has been canceled. Ridiculous. But at the same time, Astrobotic still got the money. The contract was not completely canceled. They still are getting paid to go to the moon with Griffin. But of course, Griffin was going to be carrying a dummy payload, which would have been a ridiculous waste, a colossal waste for such a big lander. The Griffin is far more robust than any other lunar lander, unmanned lunar lander that NASA has sent in recent years. It's capable of carrying a lot of payload, and it was carrying nothing. But guess what? Astrobotic goes out to the public, or to the private arena rather, and says, hey, do you want a ride to the moon real cheap? Because we're already getting paid to go there anyway. And who jumps on board? Well, it's Astrolab, the same guys who are designing that lunar rover design that I really like. But on top of that, they also have an unmanned cargo carrying rover. And that now is going to be traveling on the Griffin spacecraft. But the point is, Astrobotic would not be able to succeed without that NASA funding. And I've gotten that straight from them, straight from Astrobotic. Without NASA support, Astrobotic would be gone. And the reason is nobody else is really jumping on board and asking for, the robust capability of landing large vehicles on the moon. No one else is doing that except for NASA and the Chinese. Those are the only ones who are asking for that currently, because the private industry still does not have the boldness. They don't have the guts to invest millions or billions of dollars in trying to develop lunar infrastructure. There still isn't enough confidence in the idea of building lunar mining, lunar resources, and also a lunar base, a permanent presence on the moon, even though ultimately it needs to be the private sector that develops that in the long run. It's NASA that puts the seed money into it. It's NASA that gets the process going, that creates that transportation infrastructure so that private companies can get, I think I hit my mic there. Sorry, guys. So that the private industry can follow up on it. It's absolutely vital to have that initial NASA support so that these private companies can be successful later on. And that even applies to SpaceX, because obviously SpaceX has received billions of dollars in support for Lunar Starship, and Lunar Starship is really not significantly different from the Starship that will go to Mars. A lot of the same infrastructure for Starship will apply to both the moon and Mars. And on top of that, SpaceX has also received many, many millions of dollars for the commercial crew program, for all of these NASA missions to other planets, all of these high profile missions with very, very big paychecks involved. All of this stuff is being funded by NASA. So even SpaceX depends very much on that. TJ does it. Thanks you so much for your support. Newman's with the bio at the Space Symposium. I'm sorry, I should know more about that, but sadly, I don't. I'll tell you, there's a lot to keep up with a lot to keep up with at Space Symposium. So here was aside from all the lunar rovers that were present there, also Firefly was there in a big way. They had a very big presence there, advertising the fact that they are now on the leading edge of developing that presence on the moon, since they are the only ones, the only private company anyway, that has successfully landed on the moon without any problems. With the Blue Ghost mission, they are now on the leading edge. So their presence there was quite significant. In addition to that, you also, of course, had VAST. VAST is, they're making themselves a huge presence at every space-related event. They want people to know what they're doing, and the reason is they were not originally selected by NASA in order to provide that replacement for the International Space Station. They did not get a big contract from NASA compared to some of these other outfits, and yet at the same time, it appears that VAST is well positioned to be the first company to put up the first private space station. It seems very likely that they will be able to make that deployment either this year or next. And then their mock-up, the mock-up that they had of their first space station, Haven 1, and also Haven 2. Haven 2 is the one that they had on display. All very intriguing and interesting stuff from them. So we have lunar rovers, we have space stations, we have lunar landers from Firefly. What we did not have as much, and this was very disappointing because it was in sharp contrast to IAC in Milan, was an international presence. There was not nearly as many nations represented, not nearly as many international companies that are based somewhere besides the United States. There were definitely some. For example, the Cornwall Space Cluster and everything associated with them, they were heavily represented. Goonhilly Earth Station and Space Forge, Spaceport Cornwall, of course, all those guys, they were heavily represented at the event. And there were representatives from other space agencies from around the world, but overall, not much. And the reason there wasn't a whole lot there is because of all the unpleasantness that's been going on at the border. There's no, regardless of whether you think it's a good idea or not, it is creating an environment that a lot of people were uncomfortable with. There are a lot of representatives from international companies that did not feel comfortable in confronting US customs right now. They were concerned that they would be turned away at the border for one reason or another, as a number of British citizens, for example, have been turned away. So whether or not that was a justified concern, I mean, there are actual travel advisories out with a number of countries saying, don't go to the United States unless you absolutely have to. And here's why. Yeah, for example, Great Britain right now, as my producer just reminded me, Great Britain has a travel advisory for the United States. So, regardless of whether you think it's a good idea or not, I have no solid opinion on it. The fact of the matter is it has created a pretty uncomfortable and unfortunate situation for international companies that were seeking that would have ordinarily have been there. Yes, on the other side of the equation, this is something, and by the way, anybody who's watched the episode that I just released today, I had one Japanese company represented and also a British company called Space Forge represented, who, by the way, they have a facility in the United States as well. Instead of an American space company expanding to Britain, it's a British space company expanding to the United States. Pretty exciting stuff. And as a result, uh, what I found to be very intriguing is the fact that they also said that there is a big opportunity for sovereign British space flight now that didn't exist a couple of years ago. Europe has come to realize that they need, and I think this is something actually that Trump has been demanding, to be honest. They need to develop not only their own sovereign military capability, but also their own sovereign space capability. And so now there is a huge incentive, not only on the part of Britain, but on the part of all European nations to develop a big, robust spacefaring capability, including human space flight. And I think that that's a great development, regardless of what the side effects or consequences might be of the geopolitical relationships of all this. What I have discovered is that just about every European company now believes that there are new opportunities for them that didn't exist before as a result of all of this. So that's pretty exciting stuff, indeed. Yes. Oh, by the way, quick reminder, guys, if you haven't been over to the transporter room, please go over there. Top notch Star Trek channel. If you they've sponsored a couple of my videos, for one thing. Fellow who runs it is a longtime supporter of this channel. If you're not subscribed to the transporter room, please subscribe and check out that content. Great stuff indeed. BJ, thank you so much. Really appreciate your support. And yes, I myself am glad to be in Britain, not necessarily because I don't like the United States, but rather because it's a very warm and welcoming community. I've really had a great time living there. And just the whole European experience has just been an interesting change for me. So definitely enjoyed the experience with a lot of new opportunities coming up. On top of that, of course, we had Goonhilly Earth Station. They have expanded their capabilities into the military realm. Their opportunities have also become available. So that's super exciting. By the way, everybody say hello to Marina R in the chat. She is our Ukrainian supporter who's been supporting this channel for a long time, actually well before the war started. So in any event, we're always glad to see Marina in the chat and knowing that she is well and safe. We're hoping that this little we have something special apparently that our producer has put up. Up here we go. There you go. All the best to you, Marina. And thank you very much for being a longtime supporter of this channel, and very happy that you are still safe here. So yeah, but also to continue covering the events of the symposium. By the way, I am also super happy to answer any questions that folks might have. Oh, another exciting development, I had an opportunity to talk to Spaceport America in New Mexico. I have an open invitation from them to come and tour their facilities, the Virgin Galactic, the next generation of the Virgin Galactic space plane is in development there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of developments they're coming up with. So that's very exciting. Oh, for those of you, once again, for JWST, even though this live stream was supposed to be mostly about space flight, James Webb, for those of you who don't know, found further confirmation of what appears to be chemicals that only exist as a result of biological processes on a planet called a Hycean world, about 100 or so light years away from here. I don't have all the details in front of me, but I just released a video on the topic. There is, of course, a controversy surrounding it, a controversy in terms of whether or not the chemicals were actually detected. But this detection has happened once already, and the team at Cambridge that's been studying it, they carried out a much more in-depth analysis utilizing James Webb and detected those same chemicals again. And if they exist in the concentration that they have found them, if their detection holds up to scrutiny, it indicates that not only is there life on this planet, there's a hell of a lot of life on this planet. So right. It's and also a couple of other besides the methane and carbon dioxide that indicates the Hycean nature of the world. But the other chemicals, and once again, I'm not going to remember them right off the top of my head. But in any event, they only come into existence because methane and carbon dioxide can exist abiotically under a number of different circumstances. Right. DMS, that's right. That DMS, and in any event, just check out my video. I just released it yesterday, or was it the day before? It was yesterday, I believe. And you'll definitely find it. It's Ben, I know you guys don't like each other. I definitely get that, because I love the people in Scotland. I love the people in Wales. I love the Cornish. I love the Irish, the Northern Irish who are part of the UK, obviously. Love the English, all wonderful people, and you can't stand each other. And I failed to understand that, but hey, I think you're great folks overall. So I think you just guys are just great folks. That's all I have to say in that regard. Very, very easy to get along with, vast majority of you. Anyway, so yes, definitely a fascinating discovery. Oh, by the way, real quick on the side, if you have not tried orange cream Coca-Cola, you are seriously missing out. Man, this stuff is good. I guess they're test doing a taste test on it or something. I got a 12 pack. Man, good stuff. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Let's go. Yes, absolutely, producer. I will do my best. So in terms once again, back to the symposium, if we can get back onto that topic, that was, something that I definitely noticed. On the other side of the equation, though, in terms of the military representation that was there, there's definitely a lot of collaboration that still exists between the US military and all of NATO, in spite of whatever conflict there may exist in the political arena. The militaries of those countries seem to want to stay on a in a close and collaborative type of relationship in the face of potential threats. None of that seems to have changed. At least that's what the representatives of a variety of different militaries had to tell me at the symposium. By the way, in terms of upcoming stuff, oh, let me talk real quick about the Japanese company. And bear with me for just one moment. I'm going to go ahead and, because I keep forgetting their name. Give me just one moment here, and I will let you know who they are. It's not Space Habitat, Space Quarters. That's it. Space Quarters out of Japan, out of Tokyo. Very interesting. Then the reason I stumbled across them is the CEO and their head engineer just happened to be sitting at a table for lunch. There was an open seat, and I asked if I could sit with them, and I started to learn about what they were doing, and then I ended up getting an interview and also filming a presentation that they did. I just released that video today. But what I find to be very intriguing about their solution in terms of building large structures in space, that's what they're all about, is building massive space stations or just massive infrastructure. That's the main word that they used, was infrastructure. And in order to build that, the idea of welding large structures in space utilizing robots is what they had in mind in terms of creating those types of structures and that type of infrastructure in low Earth orbit. And they already have the robots. They've already designed and created these robots that can weld in a vacuum environment, this electron beam welding in a vacuum environment. And their plan, of course, is to send it into space in order to test that out. There are other companies that have been pursuing that sort of thing, but none of them are using robots in the same way that they are. These robots are capable of not only doing the welding, but also of fitting the pieces together, fitting the components together of a habitat structure or a space hotel or a huge space antenna like a large radio telescope, that sort of thing. And now, as a result of my interview with them, I have an open invitation, if I can ever get to Tokyo, of visiting their facilities and checking out these welding robots of theirs. And from the films that I've seen of them, they seem quite fascinating, really intriguing little guys. And I think that that would be a hell of an experience. On top of course, the opportunity to perhaps see a JAXA launch in Japan as well. The overall hope that I have by late next year, fingers crossed, is when I go to IAC in Sydney, Australia, I'll be able to stop in Japan on the way. That is what I'm hoping to be able to do. And if I can manage to pull that off, pay a visit to all of the new innovative space companies that are getting going there. Then also travel to Australia and pay a visit to everything that's happening there and in New Zealand. Quite an ambitious plan that I have in mind. And of course, you know where this is going. The more Patreon supporters I get, the greater the chance is that I can do this without even having to ask for any kind of fundraising efforts like I always have to do. I don't like doing those. I really don't. And if I were to have double the Patreon supporters that I currently do, just in terms of sheer numbers, at $3 a piece, that's it. I would be able to do all of these things without having to do a fundraising, any kind of fundraising campaigns. So just keep that in mind, guys. For those of you who are not Patreon supporters, please consider it, because not only do you get access to a large library of Patreon exclusive videos, but also a Discord membership where you can communicate with a lot of other spaceflight enthusiasts, and also me if you want to. Hello, Farouk, New York, New York. Thanks very much. Appreciate you being here. You know, I come through New York on a pretty regular basis. I think we should get together sometime. So, any other questions in terms of in terms of the symposium? If there's anything else you folks would like to know about, I'd love to talk to you. Obviously, a lot of the big names were there. Tuxedo, thank you so much for your support. We just got that on the vertical format. The reason I'm angry is two reasons. Number one, NASA doesn't get enough financial support. The amount of support that they get for the very important work that they do, both in terms of science and also developing our presence and human presence in space, they don't get nearly enough money, not nearly as much as they used to get in the 60s. But also, number two, I don't feel that that money is always wisely spent, especially on things like SLS and Boeing Starliner. Paying the old, the old names in space fleet, the old boys network of guaranteed contracts that don't have any fixed prices involved, contracts with ballooning costs and missed deadlines left and right. That's the sort of thing that really makes me angry as well. And then occasionally other things get me angry too sometimes, and that's why I don't hesitate to let my opinion be heard. For example, this recent all-female space flight, so to speak, that recently took place. And look, you know what? If a bunch of female celebrities want to get together and take a 10-minute ride into suborbital space, that's fine. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. What I'm saying is, though, don't try to attach such an overwhelming significance to what they're doing here, because what they did is nothing compared to the female astronauts who came before them. They're not even official astronauts anymore. The FAA did away with the whole civil astronaut wing concept quite some time ago. Now, of course, there's certainly others in the world who would believe that if you've gone past the Kármán line, if you're willing to strap yourself into a rocket and go past the Kármán line, then you're an astronaut. Okay, I get that, but you know what? They could have been a bit more humble about it. They could have said, "Hey, thank you very much for calling me an astronaut, but I'm not an astronaut the way Sally Ride was an astronaut, or the way Tereshkova was an astronaut, just not on the same level." Just show a little bit of humility there, instead of trying to attach all this significance to it. And here's something else they could have done. If they had done this, I would have been behind it 100% all the way. If every single one of these ladies had put out an invitation to schools, universities, or just, schools for younger kids who want to send up their own experiments, if every single one of these ladies had taken up a microgravity experiment with them, and only a couple did, if all of them had done that, I would have been behind them the whole way. I would have said that there was definitely significant work, something relevant was done in space as a result of that flight. But instead, just a couple of them did. And that was a big letdown. BJ says, "I blame Blue Origin for the all-women crew history thing. They sponsored it. Blame Bezos." Yeah, I'd say that's a good thing to do. Definitely blame Bezos. He's the one who bankrolled this. He's the one who's behind it. He's the one that could have attached a little bit, put it a little bit more into perspective, attached a little bit more humility to it. So it is events like this that get me angry. But this, and you're right, Sage Pup, totally agree. Spending 10 minutes on an overpriced amusement park ride does not make you an astronaut. Just not remotely the same thing. Perhaps we should come up with something new like space traveler wings or something. Go ahead. Sorry, producer. Yes, Vostok 6 was an all-female crew, of course, because it had one woman and nobody else. And by the way, Tereshkova, for those of you who didn't watch my video, she was locked in that little space coffin for 3 days. Originally, it was only supposed to be for 24 hours. But the mission was going so well. She was so good at being an astronaut, so good at adapting to microgravity and being in those uncomfortable environments that they extended her mission to 3 days. Just a lot of things that she had to do in order to accomplish that mission, flying more time in orbit than all the Mercury astronauts before her combined. As a huge, huge accomplishment. So, how can these ladies begin to compare with that kind of accomplishment? The fact of the matter is they can't. They shouldn't be mentioned in the same sentence. And so what they could have done is just shown a little bit of humility there and just said, "Hey, you know what? Thank you. And it was a great experience and I'd be happy to talk to you about it, but I'm a space tourist, not an astronaut. I'm just not this, just don't measure up." If they had done something like that, I would have been behind them all the way. But sadly, they didn't. They let their egos get the better of them, and that was truly unfortunate. In any event, thank you very much. I really appreciate you folks watching today and your support. And it's thanks to all of you that I managed to make it to Symposium in the first place. I definitely could not have done it. We'll go ahead and have a look at Marina's last comment to wrap us up. They've been there for only 10 minutes. That was enough for them. If they decide to go on a more serious basis to stay longer, do some experiments and not just fun, that would be more interesting. I couldn't agree with you more, Marina. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please consider supporting this channel on Patreon and PayPal. And until next time, stay angry about space.